For the final time in 2023, we've appreciated our chats with Tony Passon, member for Parker. And Tony, great to be with you one more time. And you've had a sudden call up to federal parliament for an energy debate.
Yes, Ricky, a complete waste of your listeners' money to fly all members of parliament back to Canberra. I understand it's cost over $1 million for a policy outcome, quite frankly, that won't achieve the outcome and is, in my view, destined to fail.
And when it comes to that energy debate, it's been pleasing at least to see some commentary, including a chat we've just had with Peter Dutton, your leader, that the nuclear conversation continues. The New South Wales Premier is on board with the idea of nuclear energy being part of the future energy mix, and so is his Energy Minister, Matt Keane. And Peter Malinauskas was on board, but then Anthony Albanese told him off, and now he's not on board.
Well, in the short term, Ricky, we obviously need more supply of gas, which is why that legislation we passed in the parliament won't work, because it will constrain growth in that sector. But in the long term, we need to consider alternative fuels if we're going to have a credible path to decarbonise our economy. Serious economies all over the world are looking deeply into the opportunities that small modular reactors present. In Australia, we can't even have that conversation. So what we're saying is that we should have that conversation. We should look at all the options, including nuclear energy, and I'm pleased to see sensible commentators and proactive members of parliament are joining our push for this. I was really pleased to see Peter Malinauskas support the push, only to be slapped down in a way which I thought was quite unbecoming of the Prime Minister, and if I was the Premier, I'd be embarrassed but filthy.
Well, now, something that's a very pressing concern for people in your electorate is the incoming flood waters, the peak hitting Renmark, maybe even as we speak, the first of two peaks. We've talked a bit about this previously, but how is the situation shaping up across the whole of the Murray, really, in South Australia?
Well, people are very anxious, Ricky. That anxiety is being driven by the fact that estimates have been consistently wrong. I don't think that Riverlanders believe that the new estimate of 220 gigs. They are banding together. They're resilient. They're doing all they can to protect their properties and look out for each other. But like I said, the anxiety is building up because the water just keeps coming. If anyone is continuing to have issues, whether it's with SA Power Networks, with SA Water, with the relief centres, feel free to contact my office. We're dealing with hundreds of constituent inquiries a day, seeking to resolve issues as we can. But the important thing is that we all stay safe, we all look out for each other, and we'll need to start focusing on the recovery once the high water peak is met, and then we move on to the next stage.
Now, you and I, we talk politics often, and as a result, sometimes we look at these things through a political prism, but we were just chatting with the opposition leader, Peter Dutton. Some people may be wondering whether he, like the Prime Minister, might visit the region. He's told us, well, he just doesn't want to get in the way. He's planning to come at an appropriate time. Says he's been in conversation with you about that. Yeah,
I briefed Peter yesterday in Canberra, showed him pictures of what is going on. My sense is right now the last thing people in the Riverland need is a conga line of politicians. People are focused on getting what they need done, and politicians need to be working on a plan for the recovery. The best work I can do at the moment, Ricky, is on my phone dealing with issues for people. It's not necessarily bringing a press pack for photographs on a levee bank. I mean, people are sick and tired of politicians flying in and flying out. This is a community I've spent a lot of time in. I know it like the back of my hand. I'm going to keep going there. That being said, I understand in my discussions with Peter, perhaps in the new year when we are starting to focus on the recovery and there'll be a need to do a lot of work around recovery. I'm keen to host Peter in the region, not for a fly-in, fly-out visit, I made that clear, but for a visit where we genuinely engage and get some real Riverland mud under our fingernails.
Now, when it comes to recovery, well, indeed, infrastructure standing up during this situation, the queries we've raised with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport tell us they're confident both the Kingston and Paringa Bridge will stand up to the flooding, because some people have raised this quietly with us about both of those, which seems odd. But where does this take us into the future, planning for the future? And the Springcart Gully Bridge, we'll need a causeway through Lirrup or something like that to make sure that doesn't go under at any stage.
Well, let's hope the Paringa and Kingston Murray bridges hold up. It would be a catastrophe if they don't. It's bad enough that we've lost the Bookpennon Road, and we will shortly lose the Kingston Road by Marook. But long term, Ricky, I've been arguing for some time, and I'm keen to ensure these plans are progressed, is we need a bridge over Springcart Gully. If we're going to build a bridge of that nature, which is effectively, an extension of the Sturt Highway, we'll need to do it in a way that satisfies the 56 flood level plus. These are all considerations, but the reality here is there are few places in the national road network where, with the investment of some infrastructure, you could save 20 minutes on a trip interstate. This is an opportunity that we all need to deliver on, but it is still a blue sky project that will run to many, perhaps might even run to billions of dollars in terms of an investment, which leads me briefly to the North-South Corridor. The blowout of that project from $9 billion to $15 billion effectively means that for a number of years going forward, blue sky infrastructure projects for South Australia won't be able to proceed because all the money has been invested in the North-South Corridor. We need to complete that road, absolutely, but nobody has shown me in the extended scope of works why a project that was costed to 90% a surety by Infrastructure Australia at $9.9 billion is now $15 billion.
And does that blowout put on the shelf a project or a put backwards a project like that Truro bypass that I thought we were making some progress on?
Well, it won't push back Truro bypass, Ricky, because that's in the forwards, and that matter that will proceed. Final consultation will hopefully finalise the plan shortly. It's approaching 6 to 12 months behind schedule, but it will proceed. What I'm more concerned about is the infrastructure projects that haven't made the active list yet and are past the forwards. That is more than 4 years away. The money that I anticipate was slated by the federal government for South Australian infrastructure works over that period will be gobbled up by the North-South Corridor, which means my push for the duplication of the Dukes and Sturt Highways gets put on the back burner because this state Labor government can't manage the remainder of the North-South Corridor project.
Well, Tony Passon, we've got plenty to pick up with you after the break, but it won't be much of a break for yourself and your constituents facing flooding. Stay safe and have a Merry Christmas.
Same to you, Ricky, and can I thank Flo for everything you've done over 2022 to keep the community informed, and for those that are dealing with the prospect of floodwaters over Christmas and New Year's, know that my office is available and that as a community we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you.